Today I will be showing you how to solve a quadratic equation by factoring. The method will be basically splitting this linear term into two. To do that, we have to multiply the coefficient of the squared term, which in this case is 1. There's a 1 here that is not shown. It's usually a 1 here. So 1x squared. Multiplying that 1, this 1, by negative 15, the last term, the constant term. So we're going to multiply 1 by negative 15. That will be our first step. So here is the result of the multiplication. 1 times negative 15 is negative 15. The next step is to break this negative 15 into its factor. There are possible factors to negative 16. I want to make a list for you. So we can break it into, this is negative 15. Negative 15 over here. I can have 1 times negative 15. I can have negative 15 times 1. I can have 3 times negative 5. Or I can have 5 times negative 3. Okay, of all these possibilities, there is actually only one of them that when it is added together, when they are added together, will give me this middle term coefficient. I want my answer, I want the sum to be plus 2. I want the sum to be plus 2. So if I go back, I do 1 plus negative 15, that is not plus 2, that's negative 14. That's not going to work here. If I do negative 15 plus 1, well, let's just change that around. It will be negative 1 over here and plus 15. So if I do plus 15 times, plus negative 1, that will give me 14. That's not 14. But if I do 3 plus negative 5, that will give me negative 2. But I'm looking for positive 2, so I'm not there yet. And I do 5 plus negative 3, 5 plus negative 3 will give me positive 2. So I found what I'm looking for. I found the pair of factor that whose sum will be 2 over here, will be this 2, okay, plus 2. So that is why I listed those two factors over here as 5 and negative 3. So I try to split this into 2 so that I will get the sum. The sum of these two will give me the middle term. That is the process. So now that I have split into 2, I need to rearrange this middle term now. I need to rearrange the middle term. Let's remove this thing here. Okay, anyway, we're going to rearrange it so that I will use these two new information here, these new factors. So basically, I'm going to place this negative 3, right next to the x square, and place the 5 as 5x right next to it, so that when I add them together, when I add negative 3x plus 5x, I should get plus 2x, which is precisely what we want. But now we have been successful at making these original three terms, 1, 2, 3, into 4 terms. All right, so now we're going to apply another process that is called factoring by grouping. That is the end goal of splitting a 3-term expression into a 4-term expression, is to be able to apply the process of factoring by grouping. So we're going to see that in the next screen. Okay, so yeah, this is how it works. So I'm going to group the first 2 terms. That's one group right there. I use parenthesis grouping symbol. And the next two terms, I group them. That's the group right there. And now I need to look for the GCF, the greatest common factor. Okay, so if I have x squared and negative 3x, for example, I'm looking for the greatest common factor. Well, I know that there's an x here because there's x times x, and there's an x over here. So obviously the common term here, the common factor here, not term, the common factor here is x, which I can pull out. All right. The same thing here. There's no x here, so I cannot pull x out. I can only pull 5 out from here. So if I pull 5 out from here, that's sort of like doing the reverse distributive property. If 5 comes out from here, then negative 3 will be left here. So let's see how it works. So here we go. We're going to pull out 1x from that group, this left side group. That leaves me with x, because that is the only way to get, when I do my multiplication back, I'm able to get x squared, okay? And then if I pull out an x from there, will be negative 3 left, because that is the only way I'll be able to get negative 3x back when I do distributive properties. So think of this, taking out the GCF as doing the reverse of distributive property, okay? You can actually check your work as you go, maybe you have done it right or not, by multiplying. See, we did the x times x is x squared, and x times negative 3 is negative 3x. So the next thing we're going to do is on the other side now, we're going to pull out the common factor, which obviously is 5. All right, we're going to pull it out. So it will be plus 5, parentheses, and then we're going to have x. What am I going to multiply 5 by to get negative 15? It has to be negative 3 down here, inside there. So negative 3 goes in here. So now this is the next step, the very first step in factoring by grouping, second step rather. So we broke it into 4. We broke the original expression on the left side into 4. We grouped them by 2's, and then we took out a common factor, okay? All right. This is what we have done so far, okay, written properly for you. The next thing now is to look for another greatest common factor. This one might take you a little bit to sort of wrap your brain around, but it's not hard. Think of this expression on the left side as one unit, one particular unit of expression. Here is another one unit of expression. If you look at that way, you'll be able to see that actually this guy over here, the x minus 3, is on the left side, is on the first one. So also x minus 3 is also on the second term. So there are two terms. This term box on the left side, this term over here, and this term over here. X minus 3 is on this term, x minus 3 is on this term, so x minus 3 is common. Is a common factor, which I am going to pull out right now. So I'm going to pull out x minus 3. See how we go. X minus 3 is going to come out from both. So if it comes out, then I have only x left. Only x is left over here. Only this x is left. So now I'm going to put that x over here. And then only 5 is left on the other one, plus 5. Now watch it. I want to prove that we are correct. What I need to do is to just take this x minus 3 as a quantity. This x minus 3 is one quantity, and distribute it onto the other one. So it will be x minus 3 times x, which is what we have over here, and then x minus 3 times 5, which is what we have over here. Remember that by commutative properties, it doesn't matter which one comes first. Either it's 5 times x minus 3 or x minus 3 times 5, it really doesn't matter. So that's basically what we have. Like if I distribute it like this, if I go, all this goes into x, and all that goes into 5. And that's how we got our expression back. So that is the next step. The next step is to take out a common binomial factor. This is a binomial factor. We took it out. and we wrote what is left from each of the expressions, each of the terms. Okay. The next step is to solve individual linear factor. Now this is a linear factor of the original equation. So we're going to if x minus 3 equals 0, x minus 3 times x plus 5 equals 0, then we're going to apply the zero product property that says that if two things multiply to be 0, you see, have a times b equals 0, then obviously either a is 0, one of these has to be 0, or b is 0. That's the zero product property, ZPP. So that's what we're going to see on the next screen. Already set each of the factors to 0. So we set this factor right here, this factor over here, this one, we set to 0. Sorry, this one you're not seeing it. This is set to 0 right here, and this is set to 0 right here. So now it's easy from here to just set to do plus 3 over here, plus 3 over here. So x equals 3, minus 5 over here, minus 5 over here, and then x equals negative 5. So there you have it. We have the solution s equals 3 or x equals negative 5. S equals 3 or s equals negative 5. We can actually test and check that is actually true. If you plug these 3 back into the original equation, you will get something like this. So let's see if it works. So let's see, we're going to do 3 squared. So we'll replace x squared with x with 3. So it will be 3 squared plus 2 times 3 minus 15 equals 0. Let's see if it's true. So we have 9 plus 6. Here is the first one. Here is these 2 makes 9. 9 plus 6, that's 15. 15 minus 15 is 0. That works. All right, let's test to see if it is true also with the other one, with the other solution. So we're going to plug negative 5 in there instead of 3. So let's see with negative 5. I'm going to go way up there. So that will be negative, no, down here. Negative 5 squared plus 2 times negative 5 minus 15. Let's see if that makes 0 or not. So we have 25. That's 25. This one will be 25. 25 minus 10. That's 15, because 2 times negative 5 is 10. So 25 minus 10 is 15, and 15 minus 15 is 0. So it works. So there you have it. That's the solution to this original problem. All right? And that is the end of the video.